Welcome again to another weekly episode of JR&Skipps podcast, where we give you a rundown of everything that has gone down over the week, touch on sports, entertainment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on social platforms, JR&Skip podcast, and be sure to spread the word. Let's go.
Let's go. So thanks, Zara, for the introduction. I have to say it's been an exciting weekend of
Of
football in the
course.
Premier League. I think the best place to start will be Arsenal's statement win against Fulham. Just before the game, I had a bit of nerves, but then the way we started the game, performances from key players like Gyokeres and Saka, and especially Matt Lewis Kelly, which we're going to touch on more and more as we discuss further, it kind of gave me a lot of confidence that just maybe Arsenal get to win the title this season. So let's go into the Arsenal game though. What did you think about Arsenal's performance? Did you think that was a performance of title winners, or was it just, any other game?
Exactly. I have to give props where it's due, right? I think that was a very big boy performance from Arsenal. At this stage of the season, you're probably expecting your team to just get the results, right? But not only did they get
Yeah.
the results, they did it convincingly. And I think they saw some of their star players show up and, put in some confident, reassuring performances like Saka and Gyokeres. So, yeah, as much as I'm not pleased about it, but yeah, props where it's due.
Yeah, hater. Yeah, just as you said, let's touch on some of the star performances. And I have to
Mhm.
say, Bukayo Saka is looking back to his best. It's been a while I've seen Saka beat his man, create a chance for someone to score. And, the way he put Jimenez on his backside, that's what we want to see from Saka. And I think it's important to say that since Saka coming back to his best just at the crunch time, when we're talking about the Champions League semifinals,
Mm.
possibly a Champions League final, three
Mhm.
more games against London rivals, which could definitely propel us to the title.
Mhm.
This is the best time for one of probably our best player actually to hit form just at the right time, so we can probably win two trophies, man. What are you saying?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is when you need your star boys, pun intended,
Absolutely.
to step up and and be counted. And you also mentioned star players in the team. Let's not forget your Chris. I mean,
Yep.
we were a bit harsh on him last week because we were all clowning him. But yeah, props where he's due. I think he scored 21 goals right now, right, for the season.
Yeah,
I'm
21.
correct. That's
21.
not bad, for your first year in England. I mean, I know it was a big money signing, but still, we have to understand that some players just need time, to settle into their environment. So, big ups to Gyökeres.
Man about to drop the Gyökeres silly, man. I can't believe a Man U fan just did that. That
Dead
shows
guy,
how viral that is.
dead
Well,
guy.
good stuff on Gyökeres though, and I have to give you props because, last weekend when myself and Franchi were chanting Gyökeres, you were the one that said, you think Arsenal fans have been a bit unfair to him. So I have to say, as you said, women lie, men lie, but numbers don't. 21
Mm-hmm.
goals in your first full season in the Premier League when you still have about 5 games to go, meaning you could probably hit 25 if you have a good scoring run. I think
Exactly.
that's very impressive for your first season in the league. And then considering he's not a young player and he's probably at his peak, might just see the best of Victor Gyökeres next season. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get ahead of myself because I've seen some subpar performances. But either way, 21 goals is good start for any striker in the league. And then if you want to look at the striker performances in the Premier League, we're talking about Erling Haaland, I think is number one. Igor
Mm-hmm.
Thiago is number two. And Victor Gyökeres is a close third. So I have to say good stuff to Victor. A brace and an assist in a very important game for Arsenal is something that any striker can be proud of. So while
Exactly.
we wrap up on the Arsenal game, I think we should touch upon Miles Lewis Kelly.
Mm.
Arsenal fans have been begging and going viral on social media trying to see Miles Lewis Kelly play in the midfield for the Arsenal. But for whatever reason, this season has sort of been an off one for him because despite exploding into the scene as a left back in the previous season, he's not really had enough games due to the huge competition in the left back position. We have players like Piero Hincapié putting him on the bench. Ricardo Calafiori has also been a top performer when given the chance. So basically, there hasn't been any opportunity for Miles Lewis Kelly to show himself. So it was sort of a surprise when we see Mikel Arteta put him as a starter in the midfield alongside Declan Rice and Eberechi Eze. And I have to say, he sort of ran the game, and that's one of the best performances I've seen for Miles Lewis Kelly since last season, probably because I don't think I've seen anything really encouraging from him this season outside of the I think, Atletico Madrid game in the Champions League. So do you think this is something that we're going to see more and more moving forward, or is this going to be a one-off from Mikel Arteta in terms of Miles Lewis Kelly's game in the midfield for Arsenal? What are you saying?
I think you also have to consider a little bit of context, right? I think this season went from a season of, showing potential to a make or break. I mean, I'm speaking from Arteta's point of view, right? So you can understand him favoring more experienced players like Nkapie or Zubimendi in positions where Arsenal fans were clamoring for MLS to start, given the fact
True.
that, this is a young kid. There's still enough time for him to get games and play. But right now, there's a job to be done, which is actually delivering some trophies and winning titles. So I think I'm willing to cut Arteta some slack. We fans, we always get connected to players, and we think we know what's best for them. But eventually, you have to understand that the coach has to decide what's best for the team. So if you guys eventually end up winning the title, so nothing foul, right? I mean, Arteta has been vindicated. But to your point about MLS's performance, I mean, yeah, I think this is the right time for him to show why Tuchel has been very interested in making sure he's part of the England squad for the World Cup. He's a bunch of talents, very versatile. He could play in the defense and he can play in the middle of the pitch, and he has his explosiveness and technical security can unlock or unravel low blocks. So yeah,
Definitely.
big ups to the kid. Nice to see him at least get some good momentum his way, especially in a way he can feel like he contributed to the title eventually if that happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you, Maji. And if we actually knew best, I guess we'll have the Arsenal and the Man United job. But there's a reason why our
Exactly.
fans and
But
podcasters
I
rather
know
than.
better. See, one thing I know better than Amorim. Like, please, just
Okay, okay.
but
I
I
can give you that. I
digress.
can give you
I
that.
digress.
Okay, so I guess Miles Lewis Kelly has his career ahead of him. He's just I think 20 or 21. So I guess we can wait and see what his career has to bring in the long term.
Exactly.
So let's quickly switch into the Man U and Liverpool game. So Man U recorded a double over Liverpool, sending them back into the Champions League for the first
Let's
time in 2 years.
go. The
Yeah, what do you? I'm just going to leave this to you,
champions.
my G. So what are you saying? Back in the Champions League, how you feeling about that, bro?
See, first things first, I have to curb my excitement because I never envisioned the time will come where I, as a Man U fan, will celebrate being back in the Champions League. But hey,
Bro,
hey,
true,
hey,
true.
it is what it is. It's making me feel
It
kind of
is,
like an
bro.
Arsenal fan of back in the days.
Nah,
But
come. What you saying, bro? What you saying?
anyways, I'm happy we're back in the Champions League. First
Yeah.
double over Liverpool, I think, in 10 years. I think the last time we did the double over them, Van Gaal was in charge when we won.
Whoa, that's a long
Yeah, so
time.
it's a long time ago. So it's exciting. I was so happy that we were able to put the Scousers back in their spot and grab the win, even though it could have been more comfortable. Second half, brain fat almost made the game turn into
Yep.
something it wasn't supposed to. But eventually, like we've seen consistently under Carrick, the team was able to, recover some discipline and drag themselves over the line. And also, what a week it has been for local homeboy Kobe Mainu. Right, new
Top
contract,
week
and he
though.
scores the winning goal. To send your boy club back to the Champions League. After that, Satanist tried to derail his career, and I think he has basically sealed his place on the English team for the World Cup too. So big ups Kobe Menu, big ups Manchester United, and yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I have to agree with most of the points you said. And one thing that made me happy and hoped Amorim actually stayed was so he could end Kobe Mainoo's career in the Man U squad, and maybe Arsenal could actually just snap him up,
Oh my
playing with
goodness.
Declan Rice in the midfield. But I guess that's something that I never got, and I just have to move on. And maybe speaking about playing with Declan Rice in the midfield, maybe that's just where Miles Lewis Kelly might tap in because we're looking at Miles Lewis Kelly and Kobe Mainoo, two young English midfielders, which
Mhm.
maybe they're going to be the future of the England national team. I guess we have to wait and see. So quickly, still on Man U Liverpool though. So Liverpool are ending their season in a wimp. Alexander Isak is injured again. You you did touch on the brain fast Man you had. You basically gifted them two chances that took the game back to 2-2, and
Exactly.
still they couldn't maybe have a draw, even get a win. Well, to be honest though, I'm not really an Onslaught fan or Liverpool fan, so I'm more than happy to see them end the season in a horrible way. But honestly, I could care less how Liverpool fans feel. So screw the Scousers. So what about Alexander Isak though, injured again? We did
Mhm.
touch on this a couple weeks back. Like, is he gonna have a run to the end of the season? Was he just unlucky? Well, I'm beginning to feel this injury might just become a pattern, and he might just become a highlight of his career moving forward, though. What do you think?
Um, First things first, long may it continue, Liverpool having a shitty end to the season. I mean, relatively, right? I mean, when you're in the top four, top five places in the league, it doesn't mean you had like the worst season ever. But considering they were champions
True,
last
true.
season, I mean, it's not the way you expected them to defend their title. Touching on Isak, I think he has just been super unlucky, right? Like when we even think he's about to get a run in the team, he suffers another setback. So it's crazy. And I think somebody else who is escaping lots of criticism is Florian Wirtz. Like, yo, that dude is the epitome of
150 mil, bro.
looking busy whilst at work but doing nothing. Yo, that guy was just basically running around doing flicks and whatnot with his shin guard all rolled out, man. See, it was just basically German Jack Grealish in my side, and that's being disrespectful to Jack Grealish. If I'm
Nah,
even
I
being
think he's more Odegaard, like in terms of trying to look busy but actually doing
I don't
nothing.
know about
Yeah.
memes. I mean, like, yeah,
Okay, okay. So let's wrap up the Man U Liverpool by touching quickly on Michael Carrick. I have to say, man, getting you guys back in the Champions League, what else
with
does
three
Michael
games to
Carrick
go,
have to do?
3 games to
Yeah,
go.
with 3 games to go, which is super impressive, man. What else
Yep.
does Michael Carrick have to do to, get the acclaim required to get the Manchester United job? Honestly, I kind of feel in-house, Man U have already made a decision to give him the
Exactly.
job, but they probably don't want to unsettle the squad by making an announcement before the end of the season. But
I
to
agree.
me, I don't see anyone else that can do a better job for Manchester United based on what we've seen from Michael Carrick. Do you share the same opinion or you think differently?
I do share the same opinion. I think United need like another year of stability, right? Which is basically what we hired that Satan worshipper, aka Amorim, to come do last season. It's basically the same thing Carrick has done this season. He found himself in a similar situation, right? Ten Hag left. We're looking for an interim manager. Your job is to step in, raise them, change the mood in the dressing room, stabilize the squad, and set them up for the next season. But what did Amorim do? He came in and we ended up finishing 15th. And we're told it was because we're focusing on the Europa League and we ended up losing the finals as well to Spurs. So back to Michael Carrick, I think United need another year of stability. I don't think they need to go in and get a new manager who will come with his fresh demands. Carrick, his profile, I think is the perfect fit for the club, right? They need a young coach who understands the club, but also we give them their way in sense of recruitment and not bring too much heat their ways. And yeah, if you ask me as a United fan, I wouldn't mind having Michael Carrick for one more year even with more investment in the team. I think by the time he's probably coming to an end for his contract, the team is going to be in a better position to go for like a top coach, like probably an Enrique or Thomas Tuchel. Yeah.
All right, so let's quickly switch to the blue side of London. So Chelsea's woes continue. Their coach Peter Griffin obviously isn't big enough from the job, as we can all see.
It's just a family guy, right? Tell him to go back
I'm
to his
telling you,
fields.
man.
Well,
He's really just a family guy, my G.
Peter
So I'm
Griffin.
thinking Chelsea's going to probably finish mid-table this season. Just a matter of did they finish at the upper side of the mid-table or the lower side? I'm going to tip them to finish at the lower side because based on the run of forms we've seen in the previous 5, 6 games, if they continue in this pattern, man, they're obviously going to finish maybe 11th, 10th, maybe. What are you thinking? Do you think it's going to be at the upper or the lower side of the table?
Um, I would probably say somewhere around 10 to 11, but really, it doesn't really matter. It has been a very, 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 very disastrous season for Chelsea, right? This is a
Agreed.
team that won the Club World Championship and came into the season with high expectations. Albeit they had to depart ways with their coach Maresca mid-season. I think they should have found somebody to just steady the ship and probably drive them to a top five, top six finish. But things have not gone that way. I think it's 6 or 7 losses in a row now. But like I said, long may it continue and may Chelsea continue to experience blues. Pun intended.
I like that, my G. The Chelsea Blues, I guess. Okay. So enough on the blue side of London. Yeah, let's switch to the other blue side of the Premier League. So we're talking Man City versus Everton.
Mm-hmm.
I think City are beginning to show signs of weakness that sort of indicates that maybe this current squad is not really built for a title challenge, despite the additions of Semenyo and Guehi in the middle of the season during the transfer market. What do you think? Do you think Pep Guardiola can still hit a run of form. I think it's just 4 games left to snatch the league from Arsenal, or is it a foregone conclusion in terms of them dropping points and having a very difficult game against Bournemouth, I believe, away? So is this the end of the title chase for Pep Guardiola's Man City?
If you recall when we had this conversation some time back, I did say that yeah, we all know that Guardiola has some title running experience, but I don't think the current City squad have that experience, right? I think I mentioned the fact that when you have players like Semenyo and Gueye coming halfway in the season and walking straight into the team and they are regulars. I'm not disrespecting those both players, but I don't think that is an A-list squad, right? It
True.
means that there are such shortages in the team. So they will probably win 2 or 3 out of the remaining 4. And I think the title is basically in Arsenal's hands, right? Like if City eventually end up winning the title, it's not going to be due to City's magnificent form. It's going to be due to Arsenal probably bottling in a very, very crazy way. So Arsenal already have the league in the bag. Not because I think Arsenal will probably be flawless to the end of the season, but because I don't think City squad is ruthless enough.
I have to agree with that because I think when we did our predictions for the end of the season, one of the games that I obviously got wrong was the Arsenal Newcastle game, and I sort of predicted Arsenal to lose that game. But then
Mhm.
when we won that game, I had a change of heart because that was the most difficult game for us based on the last 5 games of the season, and then the way we smashed Fulham away just sort of shows that. Just maybe we're ready, but I think the West Ham game might be another big decider because West Ham are currently fighting for their lives, considering that Tottenham actually beat Aston Villa. Yeah, I think you did drop great points in terms of City's additions of Semenyo and Guehi, because basically you're talking about 2 players coming from mid-table clubs in terms of Crystal Palace and Bournemouth,
And
and then
Bournemouth.
they enter the Man City
And their
team and
starters.
basically their starters. So maybe that sort of highlights the drop in quality of Pep Guardiola's Manchester City team. But I have to say, Semenyo and Guehi are quality players, but then the
Oh,
fact
for
they can
sure.
just
For
come in
sure.
and enter the starting 11, that sort of
Yeah.
says a lot in terms of the quality of Pep Guardiola's team this season. Still speaking of Manchester City though, so Everton score a third goal, and this guy literally score from kickoff, man. I
Bro,
think
that was
that's
the
one
most
of the
FIFA looking goal I've seen in a minute.
bro.
It was basically pass
That's it,
one,
man.
pass two,
FIFA, bro.
one
True
diagonal
pass,
pass, and it's a
cheap
goal.
goal. So maybe we can look at it this way, because people will say that's what mentality is. Because, to go 3-1 down and, look at the title basically slipping away from you, and or you score directly from kickoff, and then you score a banger in the last kick of the game. So I think that's just what champions do. And even though at the moment, I have to say, Arsenal can get across, trying to win the game against West Ham, the title is literally in the bag. But just maybe there's still one more twist for us to see to the end of the season. Are you envisioning any further twist? Or I guess you said it already, though. You think the title is in the bag for Arsenal. You don't
Mhm.
see any more surprises coming up this season, then?
I think City will still drop points. I don't think
Okay.
Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal will drop points. And right now, Arsenal have some mentality monsters, but sometimes they might be found lacking. But in certain scenarios, they rise to the occasion. And I think the Arsenal West Ham game is one of those games where Arsenal will just step in and just silence West Ham. But hey, I might be wrong. But I think the only
I
the
guess we'll
only
wait and
surprise.
see, yeah?
The only surprise again is probably City dropping points at Bournemouth or Aston Villa, and I think that's the last game of the season for them.
I did predict City were going to drop points at Bournemouth because that's a very difficult game, and maybe people sort of underrate Bournemouth, but this season they've kind of demonstrated that when it comes to the big games, their players turn up. And
True.
special shout out to Junior Kropi and Andoni Iraola. I'm quite
Mm.
surprised to see him leaving Bournemouth at the end of the season. I'm kind of wondering, where exactly are you going, man? You've done an excellent job on Bournemouth. You've taken them from mid-table to probably fighting for Europe, and they might just end up in a Europa Conference League position this season.
Mhm.
But it is what it is. I
I
guess you
think I think I
gotta,
think it's a
yeah,
it's a Basque identity type of thing. I think the
okay.
current coach of Athletic Bilbao is not going to be there for next season, and I
Oh, you
think
think he's going to Spain?
yeah, so he probably wants to go back and coach. I may be wrong, but I think that's the reason why he's probably leaving. But I think if a better offer, probably in the sense of like a United job or something comes along, he might change his mind because I do
Nah, he's
agree
not
with you.
getting that job, bro.
I do
Maybe the
agree with
Chelsea
you.
job,
He
you
has
know.
been he has been a top candidate since he took over Bournemouth. Since last season, I think they did well. If you watch their style of play, and he has transitioned into the season, even though he has lost, valuable players to his team season after season,
Still replaces them with
it
reasonable
replaces them
players
well.
that
And
turn up
the
at
drop
the
in
right
quality is
time,
not
yeah.
that much. So yeah, I do agree. It's a top notch. coach for sure.
Okay. So I guess just to wrap it up, some more blues for Chelsea. May they continue to wallow in pity and sadness for the rest of the season. Man City drop points against Everton. United back in the Champions League. Arsenal make a statement win against Fulham. Three banging goals to give us a clear indication of where the title is headed at the end of the season. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call it a wrap. Thanks everyone for joining us on this episode of the JR&Skipps podcast.
Yep.
And thanks to my co-host, JR. I think this has been a quick catch up on the Premier League roundup, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Tap
Let's
in.
go.